They're calling us far right. Now, Keir Starmer is tanking in the polls.
Seems that the civil war has gone hot. SWAT teams show up and point guns at me. I had multiple lasers on my head.
There's something happening out there.
Yeah.
Mums are on the streets. Flags are going up on lampposts.
Because I think it is a great awakening of this country.
Well, they said the locals were pampered. They said protests at the Bell Hotel in Epping in Essex were just fear-mongering. Well, today a court found an asylum seeker guilty of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl and a woman after arriving on a small boat and being housed in that very hotel. Adam Brooks was loud about this a long time before it became headline news. He was calling out weak protections, lax oversights and dangers to local children. Now we have the proof with the jury's verdict. Adam's with us tonight. Adam, you've been leading, involved, organising, helped support these protests in Epping. Talk us through the last 6 weeks.
Well, look, I received a message from a family member of the young victim telling me what had gone on the day before. Now, I was horrified because I've been speaking about illegal immigration in these hotels for years. So I made my way down to Epping, having spoken to that family member, and I did a video on the alleged crime at the time.
Well, it's now been vindicated, yes.
That video was seen by tens of millions of people. It brought Epping and the Bell Hotel into the mainstream media spotlight. Thankfully, because this needed to. This 14-year-old girl, I was with her parents today at the courtroom. The father is distraught. The family is in bits. And she is really struggling at the moment. For a 41-year-old man, and let me tell you, I was in the courtroom, he is a big, intimidating man. He was behind the glass. I can only imagine the fear that these young school children and the women in Epping felt when they see him. What happened with this young girl is it was avoidable because these men should not be coming over from a safe country in France and being housed amongst our communities. I can tell you that women have been harassed. I have a woman that works for me in her convertible car. They tried to get in her car earlier this year. We've had people flashed on Bell Common. We've had schoolgirls followed. This is terrible what's been going on in Epping. I live 2 miles away, so these people can easily get on a bus or a tax-funded taxi to Loughton amongst my children.
And so the community in Essex, not a part of the United Kingdom. For people who are watching this internationally, we have a big audience in America and around the world. They're not the sort of people to take this sort of thing lying down. So they took to the streets.
Yeah.
Peacefully. They've been described as far right, racists, extremists. You, I presume, reject that. How did the protest start, and how did they grow? And did you feel they were being sort of infiltrated by political elements you didn't want there? Look, talk us through how it played out.
I predicted this after he was arrested and charged. I predicted that there would be protests locally. And within hours, there were Facebook groups, there were WhatsApp chats being set up. And I knew it was going to be big. And then on the first protest, there must have been 1,500 people, 2,000 people.
And these were
mums, these were dads, grandparents. There was loads of kids there. This was nothing far right. But what happened was a select few decided that they wanted the attention. They wanted these TikTok stories. They wanted to come down and have a pop at the police. And so maybe a couple of dozen troublemakers caused a scene that went everywhere and was able for the mainstream media a lot of the time and our politicians to label us as far right, which is the furthest from the truth.
Easy and convenient to leap on this as just make this go away, call them all racist, tell them to shut up, tell them to go home.
But we're not.
And you've seen these protests start to spread across the country. Other hotels that are housing what they call asylum seekers, often economic migrants, often have a go, try hard, please let me stay, use every trick in the book, whatever. These protests have spread. Are you coordinating with other groups and families and individuals such as yourself around the country, or are we seeing something quite organic?
It's organic, because let me tell you now, I was accused of organising these protests. Not once have I organised a protest. These are normal people, Facebook groups, mums, nans, granddads, brothers that are just getting together and saying, right, it's 4 o'clock on Sunday, or it's 6 o'clock on Thursday. And then there is a Twitter group, there is an Instagram group, and they organise these protests. And look, I do share them because it is our democratic right to peacefully protest. And I don't condone any violence. I speak to the police on the protests, many of which, off the record, support our cause. I'm telling you that now. But I will not be labelled, and neither will these, especially the pink ladies. We've got women that are dressing in pink, and it's a powerful statement. It went around the country.
Any politicians get it. I mean, you've had Kemi Bain, not the leader of the opposition. She's been down to talk to the Epping mums of Epping mums, I think they're called. Nigel Farage has, banged this drum. Where are the government on this? Are they engaging in any way?
No, they're calling us far right. Now, Keir Starmer is tanking in the polls, Harry. That's evidence to see. And that's because he's labelling normal people like me and the people of Epping as extremists for not wanting. He was asked himself, would you want a migrant hotel in your town? He said no. Well, why is it OK for us to have it? The crime emanating from these hotels up and down the country is huge.
What is the solution, though? Because you want to get them out of the hotels, fair enough. There's been talk about using military bases, old MOD land, former student accommodation, all of this. These people do have to go somewhere while they're being processed. We can have a debate about whether they should be here in the first place, but they're here. They're reality. Where would you put them?
Well, again, military bases or airfields away from town centres and especially away from schools. The Bell Hotel is 200 metres from a school. Let's remember, it was a schoolgirl. I've got two nieces at that school. So this is very personal to me. And that is why I'm there every week. But look, they should be on ring-fenced air bases, for me, with armed security.
No in, no out.
No, because they should not be free to walk up and down high roads near schools. We've seen this up and down the country, Harry. The crime, the sexual attacks, the rapes. We've had alleged terrorists, alleged spies.
Slipping into our borders.
The whole point, Harry, is we do not know what they've done in their past. We don't know what Hadush Kabatu has done back in Somalia. We have no idea. 1 minute he's 38, now he's 41.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
From where I sit, I'm in the UK right now, but I've been in the United States where, of late. It does look like, to quote Nigel Farage's infamous quote, there's something happening out there.
Yeah.
Mums are on the streets. Flags are going up on lampposts. Spray-painted crosses of St George's on roundabouts. For our American viewers, roundabouts there are a lot of roundabouts in the UK. In a way, there are not in the United States, but people are spraying them. What happens next? Where is this heading? You say the government's incredibly unpopular. Do you feel, from essentially the front lines of this, that people are moving away from politics in the traditional sense and taking to the streets? And are you worried about where that ends up?
No, I'm not worried, because I think it is a great awakening of this country. Suddenly people...
But can be controlled?
Well, look, at the moment, yes, because it's your normal, everyday people that have had enough. Every street I'm driving around in Essex has got Union Jacks or St George's flags everywhere. It's actually lovely to see. And for the people that are offended by that, I'm amazed that people can be offended by their own flag. In Spain, they're everywhere, their flags.
Yeah.
Why is Britain the only country that has to be ashamed of its history or ashamed of the mistakes that this country has made? It seems like, there is a small rabble of left-wingers that just want to demonise anyone that's proud of their country, proud of their flag, or does not want undocumented, unchecked foreign men placed upon us. No one wants that.
Adam, stay right there. We're going to bring in Owen Shroyer. He's a broadcaster and commentator in the United States. Owen, you've said that the United States is heading towards some sort of cold civil war. Just tell us what you mean by that.
Well, I might even have to push back my own opinion here, because it seems that the Civil War has gone hot, except there's only one side fighting it. We just saw Charlie Kirk, and some of the most gruesome footage you're ever going to see, get shot at a college campus. We also just had a man get found guilty of attempting to assassinate President Trump. All of these suspects have been aligned with left-wing values. Now, this is something we've been dealing with in this country, really, I would say, since the 90s, but it's gotten to a certain peak since Trump became president. So, I might argue it was a Cold War when they were just maybe censoring us. I might argue it was just a Cold War when they were slandering us, libeling us, defaming us. Now they're attacking us. Now they're trying to have us killed. I myself have been put in prison for my speech. I myself have had false police reports filed on me in my home so that SWAT teams show up and point guns at me. I had multiple lasers on my head and chest because of a false police report. So you could argue to a certain degree that this civil war has already gone hot. The problem is there's only one side fighting it, and that is the left. Now, I'm not a violent person. I'm not a violent revolutionary. I am always in favor of trying to have cooler heads prevail or de-escalation, but we have to be real about what's going on. The left has already launched a hot war against the right in America, and it's already resulted in multiple people dead. We had an individual named James Hodgkinson try to shoot up a Republican baseball practice. I don't even know if that news made it out your way. Barely even scratched the surface here because they covered it up. So this has been a long-standing policy of violence that the American left has had against conservatives like myself.
Is it a coordinated effort to escalate things, as Donald Trump has suggested? He's moving yesterday to outlaw Antifa. At the moment, there's no evidence to directly link Charlie Kirk's assassin directly with these left-wing militant groups. He had possibly self-radicalised or radicalised in a much smaller group. No coordinated efforts. Is it really as bleak as you put it, or is there perhaps a politicisation of the response from the White House to what we're seeing?
Well, I'm not buying the official story on the Charlie Kirk assassination, so let's just put that aside for now. Having said that, leftist protest groups have been rioting and burning cities to the ground, really, you could argue, extremely intensely since Michael Brown riots in 2012, where the hands up, don't shoot lie went all around Ferguson, Missouri, and it ended up not even being true, and they burned that city to the ground. It still has not recovered. That is actually where I grew up, not far from Ferguson, Missouri, in St. Louis. I witnessed that firsthand. So I do think that the radical left, the extremist left, is a serious threat. I do believe that. I think that now people on the left are realizing that they are going to have to find some space to separate themselves from these radicals, from these extremists. But the truth is they can't. They're a product of the American left. They're a product of the Democrat Party. They're a product of the American liberal progressive ideology. So they can try to separate themselves and throw their hands in the air and say, oh, we're not about violence. We didn't have anything to do with this. But they're the ones that are really the ones, in my view, causing it. When they call everybody a racist, or as your other guest was just saying, an extremist, we're not racist, we're not extremists, we're not bigots. We're just normal people that care about our family and care about our country, and we're sick of our government, our own government, doing things to destroy our homeland.
Just to pull you up on a couple of those points, what do you say to those that say there's only one side on the political divide that invaded the Capitol, that involved injuries and deaths and astonishing scenes? That wasn't the left. The right have, a track record of violence in the political arena. Is it really as one-sided as you're saying, Owen?
Yes, and I will get back to you. I'll be as quickly as possible in the January 6th thing, but let me just ask you, can you name a single other time where there was a right-wing riot in America?
Well, that's the point. We have seen scenes of prayer, scenes of weeping, scenes of religious, revival on Sunday night in Arizona, where I think I've made the point sitting in this very chair many times. We would have, in other politicized political deaths, we've seen riots, shops boarded up, restaurants smashed up. I get that completely, but it has happened in the past, right?
But yet you can't answer the question. Can you name another time?
Well, no, you got me there. But, on January 6th, though, that was a pretty prominent, that was not the left, was it?
No, it was not the left. But I will have you know, the only people that died on January 6th were Trump supporters. There were 3 Trump supporters that died that day.
And a law enforcement officer, if I'm not wrong.
No, not a single law enforcement officer died that day. That ended up being a completely fake news story. The one officer that died in the hospital days later from other medical complications. So you see, this is how fake news makes its way around the world.
Well, look, I mean, I spoke to a member of Donald Trump's cabinet not that long ago, a household name in terms of politicians, and they were saying that they think that Britain is about 15 years behind where America was. We saw the Tea Party movement, we saw the growth of MAGA, we saw Trump won. Obviously, the Tea Party and MAGA had very different ideological, sort of seeds, but the scenes of people sort of bypassing the normal political sort of channels were there and taking to protests and taking to street movements. Do you think that's something to that? Can you see the seeds of where America headed in what Adam's been telling us about in terms of people taking to the streets, raising the flags, protesting in a way that we don't really do in Britain? We're a little bit too tight, a little bit too uptight for that.
Well, I think that the birth of America in 1776 maybe gives us a little bit of a rebel spirit.
We'll let that one go eventually.
I do think that we have a little bit more of a rebel spirit here. It's in our DNA, let's say. But I think that really the angst that I don't even think it's a right-wing issue personally. I think it's a patriot thing. I think that the angst that patriots have in the West, no matter what country they're in, I think they're all on a similar time frame. Now, you could say one country is years behind the other, and maybe look into their history as far as protesting and policy is concerned. But really, I think all Western nations have their patriots that see that their countries are going in the wrong direction. They see that their countries are really being lost, I think, in many ways, culturally, politically, even economically. And so I think these are patriots standing up. For whatever reason, most of them seem to be politically on the right. Maybe that's because right-wingers have a higher IQ. I don't know.
Or they're in opposition, or have spent some time in opposition. Adam, are you looking across the Atlantic at what's happening there? Can you see are we seeing the nascent birth of a MAGA movement in the United Kingdom?
Look, I think Reform UK are playing to the MAGA movement with the big conferences and the theatre of their politics.
Are you buying it?
I am, to be fair. And obviously what Nigel said over the last couple of days, I think needed to be said. Too many people are coming to this country and gaming our housing system, our benefit system, and who's paying? It's me and you. And look, I'm not worried about me. I've got 3 children, and I'm worried about the future UK for them and their safety. If I wasn't about, I'd be petrified for my kids in that instance. What I will say is, going back to like Antifa, I've dealt with Antifa in London at protests, and they're a real nasty, horrible bunch. I went and put my microphone to them. I don't get intimidated very easily at all. I was actually laughing and smirking at them. They didn't like that. Within hours, my business received prank calls and threats. I had Google reviews and TripAdvisor reviews absolutely slating my business. They cannot take the opposing view. And that is the worrying thing from the left. They will not listen to our point of view. They need to try and shut us down because they know deep down that we're right.
Owen, final thought from you. What advice would you give any nascent MAGA movement in the United Kingdom?
Well, I just want to say I have almost the exact same experience that was just put forth here with Antifa in America. So it sounds like these groups are probably getting their same information, their same ideology from the same source, based off of what was just said. It's a really delicate situation. We Westerners have been the most tolerant people on the planet. And I think that that's why we're in this position. We assumed that everybody had the same moral compass, the same principles, the same values that we did. Maybe that was naive, but our tolerance has now cost us dearly. I think it's time to not be so tolerant, quite frankly. And maybe these labels of extremist, obviously I don't think it's extremist, but you know what? Maybe we embrace it. Maybe it is time to be extremist.
Wow.
I don't think defending your country, I don't think defending your children, I don't think defending your future is extremist at all. I think that's called survival. I think that that's called common sense. Now, as far as this burgeoning movement that you talk about, maybe comparing it to MAGA, I would just advise people in Europe, really pay attention to who's funding it. Really pay attention to your politicians and who's funding them. Because at the end of the day, They're going to be loyal to those people, not you. And that's the big problem that we have here. Our politicians, they're loyal to the highest bidder. And that's why no matter how many people go out in the streets and protest, whether it's 10 or 10 million, they always answer to the highest bidder, not us.
Owen, Adam, thank you for that. I'd put all of your allegations to Antifa, but there's not a hope in hell of them appearing on this show, and nor would they be invited.